The problem with Bitcoin ETFs is that when customers buy them, they will never hold the actual Bitcoin, which opens the door for manipulation of the supply. The mega elites such as BlackRock and Fidelity will hold Bitcoin on behalf of their customers. In return, the customers will get a digital certificate in the form of an ETF. To understand ETFs better, a friend recently asked me a simple question. If I buy a Bitcoin ETF, will I make more money than if I buy Bitcoin directly? And I explained to him that the price of the Bitcoin ETF mirrors the price of Bitcoin. So no, you won't make more money because these ETFs are supposed to be backed one-to-one with real Bitcoin. But what's stopping the ETF giants from creating more Bitcoin ETFs than real Bitcoin backing it? What's stopping these companies from increasing the supply of Bitcoin to over 21 million coins? This concern has been growing because of what banks already did with our money in the past. They created more money in the form of credit than what actually exists through fractional reserve banking. For example, when you deposit $100 into your bank account, that money is then lent out. Yet, your account still shows $100. Meanwhile, maybe $90 of that is now in another account. So the total amount of money increased. So because Bitcoin ETFs will never give their customers the actual Bitcoin, the same thing is possible. They can create more Bitcoin ETFs than the real Bitcoin backing it, which would dilute the Bitcoin you're holding, unless we are able to see the addresses of these companies. Fortunately, Bitwise, one of the ETF issuers, made a bold move to help remedy this type of disaster. They published their Bitcoin address, meaning that everyone is able to verify their holdings. And they are the first Bitcoin ETF issuer to do this. Actually, they are the first ETF ever to do this. We don't have this with gold ETFs. We don't have this with silver ETFs. They tell us that they are backed one-to-one, but we have to trust them. However, with Bitcoin, the whole point is that it is trustless. We shouldn't have to ask anyone what is there, what is the supply. It is something that we can verify ourselves. And it appears this decision by Bitwise was a move to get ahead of their competitors and gain the attention and money of customers, especially after what happened with FTX. FTX said they had customer funds. It showed in users' accounts. Meanwhile, Sam Bankman-Fried was spending Bitcoin on stadiums and sports leagues. There was no way to verify if the Bitcoin was actually there. And then eventually, the whole thing came crashing down. And this is what Wall Street wants to avoid. And it's likely that other ETF issuers will be forced to do the same. Not because they're nice, not because they want to keep the law, but because they need to do so in order to compete for customers' attention and money. It's like cell phone plans back in the day. I remember with T-Mobile, I had limited minutes, I had my top 5, and I had free minutes on nights and weekends. But then eventually, plans introduced unlimited minutes, and then all the other plans had to follow in order to stay relevant. And the same thing will happen with these Bitcoin ETFs. Even before these ETFs launched, companies like BlackRock and Fidelity started lowering their ETF fees in a bidding war in order to attract more customers. The competition is brutal, and all of these companies will have to compete on fees and transparency in order to win their customers' attention. So now that Bitwise's address is public, people started sending them gifts or donations, and in true crypto fashion, in the form of 6969 sats. So we were worried that these ETFs would be under collateralized, but technically they're over collateralized. There is more Bitcoin reserves than actual Bitcoin ETFs. But what are the legal ramifications of this? Does Bitwise have to send this back? Do they keep it? Do they move it to a new wallet? What if they're sent blacklisted Bitcoin? The whole thing is unknown because we've never seen this before. So what happens when the other Bitcoin ETF issuers make their addresses public? But we may not have to wait because we have companies like Arkham already doing it. Arkham is a blockchain intelligence company, and they have already found the addresses of some of these issuers. Here are wallet trackings for BlackRock, here are wallet trackings for Fidelity, and here are wallet trackings for Franklin Templeton. Now, these companies have not confirmed these are their addresses, but we basically already know. This is what makes Bitcoin so special. You often hear that it is trustless, scarce, verifiable, and this is what all of that means. You can't do this with any other ETF. So Bitcoin ETFs are not as dangerous as you thought. But you and me, we're not buying these anyway. We buy the real thing. But this Bitcoin ETF is not meant for us. The target for these ETFs are baby boomers who hold half of the wealth in the United States. In the long run, it ends up with money flowing into Bitcoin while the supply remains scarce, which equals number go up. But the price does not go straight up. It is very volatile. And in order to succeed, you have to watch this video right here.